How'd it go?
Fine.
God.
For once, the department let me take a risk, and I've proved it can work. Only a small step forward, but...
Hunting noises, to let someone called Hunter know they know she's there. Typical of their so-called sense of humour. Not surprising that they feel like that, though, about her.
Well, they must have longer memories than mine, then. I couldn't even tell you...
surely I thought everybody did. What was it, 11, 12 years ago? Next-door neighbour left her twin babies with the Hunter girl because she wanted to go shopping. Babies started to cry. She just picked them up and strangled them. You see what you want to do?
Yes, I remember it myself vividly. Luke 23, verse 28. Jesus said, "Weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and your children." I took it as the text of my sermon the week afterwards.
That must have been most thought-provoking.
Yes, it was. One didn't know what to think. It was all very disturbing. Wasn't it, Doctor?
Well, it was an extraordinary case. I mean, there she was, highly intelligent grammar school girl. Nothing wrong with the family background. The defence was diminished responsibility, but four psychiatrists said they couldn't find the faintest sign of any recognisable mental illness. No, there's no doubt about it. If she'd been 2 weeks older, she'd have hung.
And we wouldn't have been landed with her now.
What was the sentence?
Indefinite detention during Her Majesty's pleasure. She spent a few years in several maximum security establishments. Last few years in one of the special hospitals. Now she's been transferred to us under the Mental Health Act, Section 75, 1A. A person no longer needing treatment for mental disorder.
What are her chances of ever being released?
Never, I should think. So in the meantime, she can do just as she likes. Makes no difference how she behaves. She could attack someone on the staff, kill them if she wanted to. It's still...
I was wondering where the coffee was. I might have known that it would be in my own room. Well, that's all right, Mr. Radley. Stay there. I will go down and take applications in a minute.
We were just discussing the case of the Hunter girl.
Oh, I don't think we need worry. She was absolutely no trouble when I fetched her yesterday.
No, perhaps she wasn't to you. But the prisoners on my wing demonstrated when she was taken up there last night, as I thought they would.
You were expecting it?
One of them told me last week that they'd heard she was coming and what would happen if she was put with them.
Who was that?
Joan Harrison. And she made it absolutely clear that they didn't want her there.
Where did she suggest?
One of the other wings.
No different from outside, is it?
One might have hoped that prisoners themselves would be a little more
Harrison said this to you last week, you say? You didn't think it was worth mentioning?
What was the point? As far as I knew then, you hadn't decided which wing to put her on.
Still, I would have liked to have been told.
With respect, Governor, I thought it would be improper to try and influence your decision.
I wouldn't have been influenced, Miss Parrish.
I felt if I did tell you, you might have thought it necessary to put her on my wing, to show Harrison and the others that it was you who ran the prison and not them.
And you didn't want that.
No, I didn't.
I still think that information about prisoners' attitudes might be helpful, Miss Parrish.
Yes, Governor. But I thought the time to decide how to deal with the situation, if you were going to put her on my wing, would be after I'd been consulted about it.
Yes, I see. Well, now that she's there, can you deal with it?
Yes, thank you.
Would you like me to have a word with her?
If you think that's necessary.
No. Very well, then. I leave it to you.
If there's nothing else, then I'll get back to my wing.
Well, I think I'd better get back to the hospital.
Yes, and I must go and resume the struggle of trying to find a
I
suitable
saw that
job
West
for
Indian
our
girl yesterday.
son.
She's a lot better. You said you wanted to see her, didn't you? West Indian girl, remember?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Good.
come on.
Well, I'll come with you then. Yes, that's a good idea.
It'll be cold by now. I'll get you another.
Oh, that was damn stupid of me. Just quite right. I should have consulted her.
You were busy, you didn't. It's all right. There's no need to get on such a high horse about it. She'll always be like that with you. It's a pity she didn't get that Manchester job she put in for.
I fought like hell to get the department to let me bring Marilyn here without an escort, to demonstrate to her that it really was a step forward. I became so involved in the situation that it made me short-sighted about something that was right in front of my nose. Oh, well. I've had to put up with our Martha's prickliness before now. I suppose it'll pass.
Bringing a prisoner here without escorts, not in the book anywhere. Sometimes I think she's more institutionalized than the prisoners.
Well, read through my report on escorting Marilyn Hunter, will you? Check my hideous spelling before I send it in to the department.
I'd be careful, Faye. I think she'll always be dangerous, you know.
Marilyn Hunter, yes, I suppose.
No. Wasn't talking about her.
Pauline Johnson, 9762. Good morning, Mrs. Boswell. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Pauline. What can I do for you?
Request to be taken off the geography evening class and put on... Well, it doesn't really matter which.
It was only 3 weeks ago that you specially asked to be put on to the geography class on the grounds that it helped you with your correspondence course A-level.
I was mistaken. It's a total waste of my time. If you'll allow me to say so, madam, the woman taking the geography evening class is nothing but an ignorant cow.
No, I will not allow you to say so, Pauline.
Oh, I beg your pardon, madam. In these places one does tend to pick up the sort of language one would not normally use. Perhaps I may rephrase it, madam, and say she's a complete ignoramus.
Well, I'm sorry that you think that the standards of the teachers who give up their evenings to come in here are not high enough.
Oh, I realize you have to choose the best you can from poor material. But when one hears someone say that the liqueur, curacao, comes from an island of that name in the Dutch East Indies, one naturally wonders at her qualifications.
Oh, and doesn't it?
No, madam. The island's in the Dutch West Indies. And anyway, curacao nowadays comes mainly from Latvia.
Really? What extraordinary things you know, Pauline.
I can't afford £80,000 worth of cheques.
Governor, as you know, I've had occasion to complain in the past about our educated officers
That
sneering
will
at...
do, Pauline. Application granted.
Thank you. It's most considerate of you, Mrs. Boswell.
My main consideration is for the geography teacher.
Right, out.
Who's next?
There's only one more, madam. Joan Harrison. Harrison?
(32719) Harrison.
Yes, Joan.
Extra letter right to me mother. She's in hospital having her gallstones out. She's got hernia as well. I expect they'll do that at the same time and all.
Have you enough money to pay for the stamp?
Oh, yeah. When you want it sent first class, see?
Very well, then. Is there something else you want to say?
Well, only sort of. You know, we don't like it, do we? None of us. Know what I mean?
Who's we? What's it?
Oh, you know.
No, I don't know unless you choose to tell me. I'll either say what you want to say or go.
Oh, well, yes, if you... say no more then, eh?
Harrison, I believe you're under consideration for transfer to a semi-open prison in the near future.
That's right, yeah. Well, am I supposed to have done something wrong? I mean, if I have, I'm supposed to be ought to be told about it, aren't I? Know what I mean? So it's like I can petition.
Take her away, Mrs. Armitage.
Oh. Thanks for the letter. Tom. Yeah. Not supposed to do it, is she?
Who? What?
Goo-goo eyes. Threaten me.
Threatened you? What about? When?
Applications this morning. Only warning her, wasn't I? You know about...
Look, I told you I'd do it.
Well, did you? Still here, isn't she?
It was done without me being asked.
Well, let's undo it then. Could be something nasty happen. You know, not me, some of the others.
Not if you say not. They'll do what you say.
You don't want nothing to happen?
No point now. What'd she say then?
Only sort of implied it, you know. That I mightn't get me transferred to that sort of semi-open sort of place.
She can't. You must have got her already.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
She can't stop it unless you do something really serious.
That's what I thought.
So don't. For your own sake. It'll only be a few days now.
What they like, them places? Ever been to one?
Only on a visit, never working.
Let you go out, things like that, do they?
If you behave.
Lots of visits, people coming to see you, friends. Be lonely then, wouldn't I?
Only a couple more years for you. Bit less.
Yeah. Forget what it's like, don't you? 8 years.
Do you good. Get you ready for going out.
Yeah. Miss you, Spooky.
I'll miss you. Come up and see you now and again if you like.
Would you? Yeah. Well, Tar, anyhow. They ought to have made you governor of this place, Spooky, not her. Look, are you sure you wouldn't like a bit of trouble?
No. Leave it. Right.
Still don't know, you know. Don't suppose I ever will know.
What?
If you fancy me.
Like I said, after you're transferred, I'll come and visit you.
Best meal I've had in months. Thanks, Mum, that was great.
What do you live on up there in college? Where that so you were starving.
Oh, you know, coffee and cigarettes and coffee.
I wish you'd look after yourself better, darling. Thank goodness you're going to be here for the next few weeks. Get some decent food inside you.
Yes, well, I'm only sort of here. I won't be here all through the vacation, only weekends.
Oh, why not?
I've got a job, you see. It starts on Friday. It's a living-in one. I won't be far away. I'll come over and see you every now and then.
What kind of a job?
A place called Martineau House.
Martineau House?
What's that?
How'd you hear about that?
Well, somebody gave us a talk at the university. Sounded very interesting. So I asked if, in the vacation, I could come and work there. Thought I'd like to see what it was like.
Good.
Have you ever been there?
No, I've often wanted to. I've heard a lot about it, though. I'd be interested to hear what you think.
Hey, look, do you mind just a minute? This is a private conversation. Or could I be told a bit more so I can join in as well?
Well, it's a sort of hostel place. Alcoholics and down and outs.
Ex-prisoners?
Well, yes, some. I suppose so, yes. It's all right me going there, Mum, is it, as far as you're concerned?
Of course, darling. It's nobody's business what you do. I'm delighted. Dr. Mays has been there several times. He thinks very highly of it.
Oh, well, that's what this bloke said. It was good. You could do something much more constructive.
How do you mean more constructive?
Well, prisons. Well, they're hardly the ideal place for rehabilitation.
Well, we do feel we do some good occasionally, you know.
That's exactly what this bloke said. He said people who work in prisons have to kid themselves into believing that. Otherwise, they couldn't carry on. I don't mean you personally, Mum.
Don't exactly teach you tact at university these days, do they?
Yeah, there's quite a lot in what you say, Paul, but I don't think I kid myself, not all the time. At least I hope I don't. Marilyn, can I come in? No, please don't disturb yourself. Carry on. What's that?
I don't know. Someone gave it to me.
At the hospital? You know what it's called? The Cry. It's by Edvard Munch. He's painted several paintings on the same theme. You got anything else you want to put up? Some curtains will be nice. In a while. When you want to make them. Did you write that?
It was here when I came. What is it? Latin?
No, Italian. It's part of a quotation from Dante's Inferno. It was written over the gates of hell.
What does it mean?
Abandon all hope, you who enter here.
Lot of jokers in here, aren't there? The reception and...
Oh, I suppose you get a lot of that sort of thing.
Not at the hospital. They were nice there, because we were all the same.
In what way?
You know, cracked.
Well, not you, though. Not now. You've made a lot of progress. That's why they moved you here. Have you ever been in a prison before? You make still more progress, Marilyn. You might not think so now, but you will do. I'll drop in and see you from time to time. So, if you feel like a talk. One day you may want to rub that out.
No mention of it here at all.
How extraordinary.
Barely credible. But there it is. And here, quite specifically in the written instructions...
Well, and so? Now?
We'll have to show it to them.
Have to. Tell her we've done so, of course.
Oh, yes.
And then?
There'll be no alternative.
She'll have to resign.
Naturally. What else?
And I have been talking it over, and we think it'll be all right now. Where do you suggest?
Perhaps the tailoring shop, madam?
I know you've got as much on your plate as anyone else, perhaps even more. I was wondering if you could help me about something.
If I can, yes.
You see, Miss Clark, it's not a good thing for a governor to be seen to be concentrating too much on someone herself.
Can I just check something, Marilyn Hunter?
B217.
Thanks.
You going up to see her?
I thought it was about time.
You know about this, do you?
Visits and letters, yes. No visits, no letters received, none sent out.
Last letter she wrote was 2 years ago from that hospital place to her father.
Doesn't say that here.
Well, it wouldn't, would it? It's in our record.
Father. Get her to try again, do you think?
You're the welfare.
No. I don't seem to have read anything much. Long time now.
What sort of books did you used to read?
I can't remember. No. There was one I read once. I think it was called... What was it now?
Good, I'm glad you found that out. There's a guitar in the music class, isn't there? Well, now, if she could be persuaded to join...
No, I don't think there's a hope. It's too soon. The, music class is only on Tuesdays and Fridays, though, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it's irregular. I suppose I could stretch a point. I know what a hard struggle you're having.
One day we've got to come to terms with it, you know. Not to do with people like her.
We have? Or the public? You don't really want to know.
The librarian sent me over to get some requisition forms.
They're not in here, Red Band, you know that. They're in the general office.
Yes. I thought I'd take the opportunity to see if it was convenient to have a word with
Now,
you
you know
for
you
a
can't just
moment.
walk in here when you like. Put down
It's
an
a
application.
personal, private matter, Governor.
You heard what the deputy said, Pauline.
Personal and private as far as you're concerned, Governor.
I beg your pardon?
Very confidential, Governor. It's very confidential indeed.
Is it now? All right, then. Go on. I said go on. I give you just 30 seconds.
It's about shopping, Mrs. Boswell.
Shopping?
There are one or two things I need from Bond Street. I was wondering if I could slip out and get them at lunchtime.
I think the medical officer would be the best person
In
to
view
know this
of the
all.
different system now in operation.
You'll like Dr. Mays. He's very understanding. I'm sure if you tell him all
I
about
beg your pardon, Deputy. As I said, madam, it is very confidential indeed.
Now, let me see, Johnson. Prison Rules 47, offences against discipline. Being absent without permission from place of work, treating staff with disrespect, using insolent language, offending against good order and discipline. Need I go on?
Very well, madam, thank you. I'm sorry to have troubled you, I'm sure. There's also Prison Rule 95, Governor, subsection 1.
95, subsection 1. What?
Complaints by prisoners to boards of visitors.
Wait a minute, I'll get her back. She can't be allowed to get away
Governor,
with that.
who? Here? Now? Well, of course, at once. It's Andrews and Brown.
A&B? You mean they're... What on earth for?
Come in.
Mrs. Boswell.
Mr. Andrews.
Mr. Radler?
Oh, Mr. Andrews.
Mr. Radley.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Brown. Do sit down, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Most kind.
Oh.
Well, Mrs. Boswell, now then.
Miss Parrish, I wondered, look, I'm sorry to disturb you.
Mr. Radley.
May I? Miss Parrish, I know you know everyone on your wing very well. Pauline Johnson. Came into the governor's office about 10 minutes ago, just walked in. Haven't the remotest idea what she was talking about, all very... Well, obviously she's up to something. Though neither the governor nor I can make head or tail of what she... Well, you know what a devious sort of character she is. I was, wondering if you had any idea what she might be...
No, I haven't spoken to her recently.
Yes, well... Your girls are quite often prepared to be much more frank with you than...
You want me to find out?
Yes.
Of course. Very well.
Gone? Good, that didn't take too long. Pauline Johnson business. I've just been to have a word with Miss Parrish. I thought the best thing to be would be to ask her to... Faye? Faye, I was just saying I've been to... Faye, whatever's the matter? You look... Are you ill? What is it?
Sit down, Charles, will you?
Whatever is it?
They came to tell me that they'd found out about something. I thought no one knew. I didn't tell anyone. I don't know how they... I didn't even tell you. It's about Marilyn Hunter. When I went to fetch her, I was given permission to bring her back without an escort. But there was a specific written instruction that there were to be no stops. Well, on the way back, we stopped for about 10 minutes at a cafe and had a cup of tea.
You what?
Yes.
You disobeyed a written instruction. Took Marilyn Hunter into a cafe. A public cafe for a cup of tea.
I'm sorry, Charles. You're the one person I should have told.
Of course, I read your report and you didn't.
Well, I I was going to eventually when the idea of parole came up for her.
All right. Now, what did they say? How did they find out? What, was it the papers again? I mean, is someone...
Apparently not, no. I think they would have told me if it was. Oh, it's always a risk, isn't it? You remember what happened before in the case...
No. No one's going to let it out, though. Not the department, not you, not me. But look, Faye, there's still a chance. Don't say anything. Don't tell anyone else.
Charles. Pauline Johnson. Permission to go shopping?
No. What? Look, yes, but I mean, she's only a prisoner. The main thing is that the rest of the staff mustn't find out. There's no reason why they should, as long as we... Oh, God, Faye. Martha Parrish. It's just what I've been asking her 5 minutes ago to find out.
Charles, it's hopeless. You know it and I know it. Staff have to be told. And they have to be told by me.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I must say this. I think it's one of the most incredibly stupid and thoughtless actions that I've ever heard of.
Yes, Doctor, it very probably was.
Look, nothing happened. She didn't try to run away. There was no... Well, no, nothing. It was a non-event.
Well, so was the last time, and you ought to remember better than anyone else in this room that set the parole system back 10 years because of the fuss that everybody kicked up.
Oh, what you mean, everybody? It was only the lunatic fringe.
Ah, no, I don't think you can call the general public lunatic. They really are most concerned.
The general public don't know the first thing and don't even want to have to think.
I think that this discussion might very well take place at some other time. I've only got one other thing to add, which I think you should all know. And that is that I have to appear before the board on Tuesday morning.
What are you going to say to them?
Very little. There's very little to say, isn't there?
Since you did the exact opposite of what they'd said. No. So what will you do, Mrs. Boswell?
That, Miss Parrish, is what I shall have to think very hard about, isn't it?
Think you're going to be put on a charge? Can't think of anything original? Your spelling always was rotten.
Bastards.
Give over, Jerry.
B-A-R... How do you know they call me that?
I know most things. Like that isn't worth it. It doesn't matter what you do now, you know. You'll still be going tomorrow.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Governor in?
Oh, she'll be in this afternoon. She's been held up with something at home.
What time's she going to see the board tomorrow?
No idea. First thing, I believe.
Be interesting to be a fly on the wall, wouldn't it? By the way, Charles, I saw the Broadley girl again this morning, and I think she ought to be transferred to a mental hospital. Prison's not at all the right place for her.
I would have thought that was obvious when you arrived 6 months ago. You should never have been sent here in the first place.
It wasn't me that sentenced her, you know.
No, but people in your position could do a lot more to prevent it if they chose to speak up about it.
One of the more tiresome things about temporarily seconded probationary officers is that they always think they know more than anyone else. Oh, well. Back to work.
Did you speak to the governor yourself?
No, she left a message just before I got in.
I wonder what she's decided to do.
And I wonder how they found out. Someone must have told them.
It would be most interesting to know who.
I know who. I got friends and made a phone call. I thought it as well in case we all started getting the wrong ideas. It was the police.
The police? How could they? You're not seriously suggesting a policeman just happened to be passing and recognized...
No, of course not. If she'd only stopped to think about it, it'd have been obvious to her, too. The department agreed to allow her to have her own way and bring Marilyn Hunter here without escort, but they're not irresponsible idiots that couldn't afford to take chances. Had them both under police surveillance every single inch of the way. Which, of course, is how they knew she'd disobeyed the order. And as for the prisoner Pauline Johnson finding out, well, that's pretty obvious too, isn't it, Miss Parrish?
Perfectly.
Well, not to me, it isn't. Who told Pauline Johnson?
Marilyn Hunter herself, of course. And that's the worst aspect of it, as far as I'm concerned. When I think of all the trouble I went to get the other prisoners to accept Hunter, using every bit of influence I'd got, I'd never have done it if I knew she already had preferential treatment. I don't believe in the staff showing favoritism.
You don't have favorites, I suppose.
I don't let it affect my work.
How can it help affect you? You're only human, aren't you?
Our job is to treat everybody in exactly the same way.
What? Put the lid on the top of the dustbin and sit on it?
Security, that's basically the thing, yes. It has to be. It's what the public demands.
Is that why you came into the service? To keep people locked up?
Oh, it's all very well for you. You're not part of the system.
No, and thank God we're not.
This is a dirty job. We do it because nobody else will. But we don't get any thanks from anyone for doing it.
I say it's a dirty job.
Do you think we wouldn't like it to be more than it is? Better than it is? About the most we ever get in satisfaction is feeling once in a while we've helped someone adjust to a situation.
Oh, that's a great objective for a lifetime, that is.
Miss Clark, please, I must insist.
Thank you, Deputy. I'm
We're all under a strain. This isn't helping anyone. Now let's stop it.
Yes, all right, I'm sorry. I just wish there was room in the system for an ordinary, decent human being to do something ordinary and decent and human.
As you say, Miss Parrish, it's different for outsiders.
What will she do?
No, after she's finished her secondment, she'll go back to the local
The governor
debate.
at the board tomorrow.
No, the right thing, I'm sure. Oh, they're always very decent about it. Leave it to you to decide. Deputy Governor. No, she's not here at the moment. She... When? Where? Right. Miss Parrish, you better get over to your wing at once. I'll follow you in a moment. Prisoner's attacked an officer, taken her keys, got out on the roof and thrown herself off into the yard. Get me to the security office. Never mind that, interrupt them.
Spooky.
Jerry.
Wouldn't have been lonely there.
Mrs.
Hello,
Boswell.
Sylvia, where is everyone?
Something's happened on the south wing. I don't know the exact details.
Is Mr. Radley dealing with it?
Yes, he's on the south wing now. His letters. He dictated them to me this morning, but perhaps now you're here.
No, you sign them.
Mrs. Boswell, I don't know what's going on, and it's nothing to do with me, but...
Oh, I'm sure Mr. Radley will soon have it under control. Oh, Miss Clark, have you just come from the south wing?
No, I thought I'd keep out of the way till things had settled down a bit.
I've only come in for a short while, Sylvia, just to pick up a few personal things. I'll drop into the office and see you all before I go. Who was involved?
I think it was Harrison.
Which officer?
I don't know yet. You've decided, then?
Well, you'll be leaving yourself eventually, after your secondment is over. Back to ordinary probation work, courts and so on. You'll be glad. You prefer that?
I'm surprised.
Of what?
That's your decision.
It's always a relief when one makes a decision.
Yes, but... All right, so you ignored an instruction. You can't be the first person to have done that.
The governor can't work without the confidence of her staff.
She can work to win it back. I thought you were a fighter.
I never thought the day would come when you, of all people, would tell me to work for the system.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm saying stay and work against it from the inside. Now, people like me get dismissed as outsiders, which we are.
The governors can't make public speeches.
No. But they can make private ones that'll be heard where it matters. Parole's taking chances, and they've got to be taken, and you've proved that they can be.
Completely irregularly, though, the way I went about it.
So does that mean you have to give up?
I don't think you realize how frightened those responsible are of making a mistake.
You mean they all want to lead from behind? If the few people like you leave the system, there's no hope for it at all.
Miss Clark, let's be honest. What on earth can anybody do in a prison that's of any lasting value at all?
Nothing. But perhaps some people have got to stay and go on trying.
Or stay and delude themselves?
Prisoners attacked a member of the staff, one of your own colleagues.
I'm perfectly aware of that.
Well, surely she deserves your first consideration. You haven't even thought how the...
Which officer was injured, Mrs. Armitage?
Principal Officer Brayshaw, madam.
Seriously?
They don't know yet. They say a suspected fractured skull.
You'll be visiting her, I expect, when you go off duty.
Yes, madam, if she's allowed visitors.
Yes, well, if she is and she's conscious, give her my best wishes. Say I'll try and see her tomorrow if the hospital will let me.
Yes, I will. I will. Thank you, madam.
Which prisoner was it, Miss Parrish?
Joan Harrison. I went over to the hospital wing and stayed there an hour. I didn't inquire about the officer until I got back.
And Harrison?
She died.
I'm very sorry, Miss Parrish.
She didn't want to go out. Not even to a semi-open prison, let alone...
If you want to take the rest of the afternoon off, please do.
No. Governor. We don't always see things the same way. I don't find it easy to say things. But... Thank you, Governor.
Good night.
Mrs. Boswell?
Yes, Marilyn?
He sent it to me. He doesn't look very different. That's my new auntie, and that's my younger brother. He's 6 now. I've never seen a picture of him before. He says he's going to write to me again. He says he'd like us to keep on writing to each other. I'd still recognise him, you know, I would anywhere. He says in a few months he's going to try and come and see me. It's a long way, but he thinks he'll be able to get time off to do it. He said it was a very nice letter I sent him. He said he was glad I wasn't in that hospital place anymore. I think he's very good looking. She looks nice, my auntie, doesn't she? I told him all about here. He said he'd like to meet you when he comes to see me. He said he'd like to have a long talk with you. You like my dad, he's nice. Really is. I expect my auntie's nice too. Not like... Well, anyway, she died. I think he's really quite handsome, do you?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Shall I put it over here? Or would it look better up there?
No, I think it looks best where it is. Oh, good night, Marilyn.
It's a good picture, isn't it? I mean, it's just like I remember him.
Yes. Well. Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Boswell. See you tomorrow.
Faye, what are you doing? I thought it was this morning you were supposed to be...
I've been. They like to get things over as quickly as possible to save everyone embarrassment. I only stayed 10 minutes.
How'd it go?
A very severe reprimand, I believe it's called.
And you?
You know how it is, Charles. They're never so vulgar as to mention the word resignation. They leave it to you.
Yeah. And?
Well, as they didn't mention it, neither did I. I changed my mind. I wonder if I was right. I suppose I'll never be certain, will I?